recorded as mentioned previously, or you can register in advance to speak during the meeting. If you wish to provide comment during the public comment opportunities found under items 6 and 9, you're asked to register in advance by contacting the corporate officer at corporateofficer@summerland.ca with the following information. Name, civic address, method of participation, in-person, telephone, or Zoom, and you will be provided further details upon registration. And lastly, if you haven't registered in advance, you can request to speak during the meeting, time permitting. After I've provided everybody who has pre-registered with an opportunity to comment, the floor will be open to those in council chambers and those on the conference line. The conference line can be accessed by dialing 778-907-2071 and entering meeting ID 506-489-9374 and passcode 485186. Are there any late items to introduce? No. Okay, so we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Could I have someone bring forward the resolution to adopt the agenda? Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Traynor, all in favor? Thank you. And adoption of the minutes from the regular meeting of October the 25th, the afternoon meeting, and October the 28th special council meeting. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Patton, all in favor? Thank you. Okay. Next up on our agenda is 5.1, Peter Robinson, who is going to be presenting on behalf of the Community Energy Association, the 2021 Climate and Energy Action Award for Corporate Operations. Please go ahead when you're ready, Peter.
Thank you so much, Moot and Council. So I'd like to say hello, good afternoon, everyone. Of course, many of you will recognize me, even though I'm speaking remotely, of course. So I'd like to say it is a delight to virtually get together with you and celebrate the Climate and Energy Action Award win for the District of Summerland. So I'm very pleased to be here representing CEA, the Community Energy Association, the Province of BC, UBCM, Fortis BC, BC Hydro, and the Real Estate Foundation of BC, as I congratulate Mayor Tony Boot and all councillors, and also all the District of Summerland staff on the District of Summerland receiving a Climate and Energy Action Award in the Corporate Operations category for its leadership in low carbon and renewable energy project implementation. So CEA was pleased to announce the award during the UBCM convention on September 14th. And just quickly, I mean, many of you will remember this, but I'll just share some quick context about Community Energy Association. That we are a member-based non-profit organization working since 1995 at the community level to reduce emissions, conserve energy, and progressively transition to a low-carbon and resilient economy. And one of the ways we do this is by recognizing local government achievements through the Climate and Energy Action Awards. So since 1998, the Climate and Energy Action Awards have celebrated the many ways local governments across BC have helped their communities save energy, emissions, and money. Whether big or small, urban or rural, north and south, CEA recognizes all communities bringing innovative climate and energy solutions to the table. And the awards are only one way that CEA helps communities with climate action. And so, for example, the District of Summerland and CEA, we've worked together in the past. Multiple times we worked together, obviously, to deliver Summerland's Community Energy Emissions Plan, the Community Energy Emissions Reduction Plan it was called. Also, the Corporate Energy and Emissions Management Plan. We worked on the Okanagan Energy Diets. I've presented council on the BC Energy Step Code before, and we've done other community engagements and outreach as well. For example, a community presentation on solar, as some of you may recall. We also worked together on helping the District of Summerland move through the milestones of the Partners for Climate Protection Program. And of course, the district has been a member of CEA's membership network since 2018. So we thank our sponsors of the 2021 Climate and Energy Action Awards, who are UBCM, Province of BC, Real Estate Foundation, Fortis, and BC Hydro. And so from an array of strong and innovative nominations, the independent judging panel selected the District of Summerland to win the 2021 Climate and Energy Action Award in the corporate operations category. Evaluation criteria included the quantitative and qualitative results, demonstrated community leadership, and best practices and innovation. And so what I have written here, which is that the district's low carbon and renewable energy project implementation was a clear winner. The district applied with a clear and concise narrative showing measurable successes and a wide array of actions and benefits. It singles out here the Green Revolving Fund is an innovative approach, and the application focused heavily on the implementation of actions. Additionally, Summerland demonstrated outstanding leadership from elected officials and staff. And just reading through your application just before this call, it's really, really impressive. So obviously, it's incredibly impressive to see the work on the 1 megawatt solar PV farm, also the associated battery storage project. That all 12 of your biggest buildings have received ASHRAE Level 2 energy audits. The ongoing implementation of actions within those buildings. So, for example, heat pumps, the high efficiency HVAC equipment, thermal insulation, reflective sustainable roofing materials, and the list just goes on and on. It's absolutely incredible. You have solar on some of your municipal buildings, 22 kilowatts. As a result of the adjustments, your net metering program, you now have, over just 2 years, customers within Summerland have gone from just 6 residential solar installations to almost 50. And that alone is almost 400 kilowatts of solar photovoltaics installed within the community of Summerland now. And I'm not reading out everything here in the application, but it's really substantial, and especially for communities the size of Summerland. And this is just staggering progress that deserves to be awarded in every way, I would say. So please note that the winning projects, including this one, will be highlighted in the December 2021 edition of the Municipal World magazine. And a summary of all of the winners was presented in a virtual celebration video. And maybe there's a way I can share the link perhaps later, but we have on our webpage, we have an awards page, and you'll see a short video. It's only about 5 minutes long, and the District of Summerland is celebrated in that video. So again, on behalf of Community Energy Association and our co-sponsors, I congratulate you on your inspiring achievement. This award is an essential celebration of your success at this point in the journey. I hope to have the pleasure to present future awards to the district to celebrate ongoing leadership in climate action. And I now invite Mayor Tony Booth and Council to receive the District of Summerland's 2021 Climate and Energy Action Award for Corporate Operations.
Great, thank you, Peter. It certainly is an honor to win this award. And although you couldn't be here in person, Carly has organized us to receive this in advance. And I would pass it around, but protocol probably doesn't allow it. This will have a place of prominence in our municipal hall because this is quite an achievement for the District of Summerland. And although, just for your knowledge, although we have lost Ms. Tammy Rothery to your organization, so kudos to you. Council is still committed, of course, to having these initiatives that impact our changing climate in a positive way. And Mr. Stat announced, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3-4 weeks ago, that there is another person joining the organization that will try, at least, to fill Tammy's shoes in that role. So thank you again for this award. It's absolutely fabulous, and I'm thanking you on behalf of Council and the District of Summerland as a whole.
Thank you so much, Mayor Booth, and to all of Council. And it's always a pleasure to present to the District of Summerland. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Okay, is there anybody on the line? I don't see anyone in the gallery, no. Okay, thank you. So moving on to the first of a few business items, 7.1, fees and charges, Schedule F, business license fees amendment, bylaw number 2021-046. Mr. Dolivet.
Thank you, Worship. I was going to wait for the presentation slides to come online. Okay, I'm here before Council today to discuss our current business license fees within our Schedule F, it's referred to, of our fees and charges bylaw. And we're also proposing an amendment bylaw number 2021-046 be considered by District Council this afternoon. Not working, sorry. So some background, council members last year around this time, in the preparation of the 2021 budget, there was some discussions with council in regards to a review of our business license fees and completing a benchmark comparison to other municipalities. And staff advised council at that point in time that it may be too late for the 2021 budget year. However, we could bring this forward as an action item in the fall of 2021 prior to implementation of the 2022 budget and inclusion in the 2022 budget. And so that's why we are now back in front of council today before we finalize the 2022 budget. We want to discuss with council our business license fee structure. We've also completed that benchmark comparison as well, so we're ready to have that discussion with council. In January of 2021, following that discussion and due to the impact of COVID-19, the District Council decided to waive the requirement for payment of a business license fee in January, and so subsequently, the district staff we provided refunds or a deferral of payment to all businesses that had already paid by that point, because renewals go out around this time every year. Their 2021 business license fee. So we have a portion of businesses that have actually chosen the deferral route to the 2022 year. And in 2022, we are expecting that the appropriate business license fee in our schedule, in accordance with our fees and charges bylaw, will be applied in the renewal of licenses unless council directs us otherwise, because that waiver was for only the annual year in 2021. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our current Schedule F. Some of the items included within it, it's referred to as our business classifications and license fees schedule. And the inclusion of classifications is important right now as part of this schedule, because there's a number of specific license classifications that are differentiated in the current Schedule F, with definitions for each classification, and I'll mention that moving forward. So pictured here in this table is just a subset of the total different type of classifications, and you can see, just as an example, there are various methods of calculating the fee for each classification type. Some dependent on the number of persons, as it is for real estate or profession of some sort. Some depending on the number of seats, as it is for restaurants. Some dependent on the square footage or square meters of a retail space. And then also, we also have different fees based on the total amount of liters sold of wine, surprisingly. So we have quite a lot of differentiation and a lot of variation in terms of the fees that were charged. However, I do want to state that in reviewing all of the license fees that we have issued and collected, the majority are all subject to the standard license fee amount of $175 currently. So although we have a lot of variation in classifications, most of our businesses in town are subject to that standard license fee of 175. Next slide, please.
Brad?
Yeah.
Councillor Trainer has a question.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
This may be a silly question, but what is body rub? Is it like an auto body?
No, it's
Oh.
it's like personal body massage.
Oh, it is?
Rub, yeah.
Is it okay? So is it like physio or like a massage? Like
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a historical
Okay.
classification that I think used to be included in here, and actually used to. I think historically used to be an enforcement issue, and
Oh,
so
I
that's
see.
why it was
and
charged
it's under
so
the
much.
category with painting?
It was, I think, body painting. If ever we
Oh.
ever had a body painting business in town, they would be subject to this fee.
Okay, I've never seen that before, so
Yeah.
thank you.
No problem.
I have a question as well,
Sure.
now that we're
Maybe we'll
asking
go-
questions.
Yeah.
Is retail, does that incorporate the cannabis retail outlets that we have in Summerland?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you, Your Worship. No, it does not. We have a separate license fee for retail store licensed cannabis stores, which I'll talk about here coming up in the presentation.
One other question.
Sure.
I'm wondering too, I noticed that you've got winery on there and a volume amount. I'm wondering if there is a license fee. No, never mind. No, I'm thinking of the chamber fee for farms generally, not a license fee. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep moving forward. Next slide. Thanks. So like what was discussed with council previously, we've completed a benchmark comparison to other jurisdictions in the South Okanagan primarily for what they charge for their standard business license fee, as well as Kelowna was included in that just for comparison purposes. And you can see where right now the District of Summerland ends up. We're probably on the higher range here. In looking at our other jurisdictions, only Penticton being higher at $185 per year. We also have Kelowna and West Kelowna is kind of more the mid-range in comparison to all the jurisdictions at 127 for Kelowna and 135 for West Kelowna. And then we have, on the lower end of the spectrum, we have some of the smaller municipalities, Peachland, Oliver, and Osoyoos being around the $100 mark on average there. So, but that could be because they haven't recently updated their fees and charges bylaws with respect to this review of these license fees. Next slide. So, with regards to our proposed amendment bylaw number 2021-046, we're proposing a number of changes of approach from the current Schedule F that I just presented. So, starting with the removal of classification definitions. So, as mentioned, the current Schedule F has definitions for each classification, but staff were running into interpretation issues with the definition within the schedule not lining up with our other definitions and other bylaws of the district, including the district's zoning bylaw, as well as the business licensing regulation bylaw. So just as an example, there was definitions for a home occupation type 1 and type 2 within the schedule that were actually the opposite of how they are defined in the zoning bylaw, where the type 1 was a smaller business, a desk and telephone primarily in the zoning bylaw, and no additional storage space. But a type 2, it allows for a larger space within your home as well as use of your accessory building, a garage, for a home-based business. While the definitions within Schedule F, the type 2 was the smaller version. It was a $50 fee of just a reduced space and a like a desk and telephone again, while the type 1 was a larger space and therefore a larger fee related to it. So that definitely created issues for us in reviewing home occupations, you can imagine, on which fee we should be applying. As well, there were inconsistencies with day homes, as another example, which we had different restrictions on the size of the day home before it hit a larger fee charge, so which was again different than our zoning bylaws. So we're proposing to remove those definitions from the schedule. Administratively, we don't think it's the right spot for definitions to be included in the fees and charges bylaw. And rather, if there is definitions for the different classifications, that they should be found in other bylaws, like the zoning bylaw, where it's a specific use, or the business licensing and regulation bylaw. And so that was one of our recommended approaches. Just hit the next button, please. The other recommended approach was also a reduction of the different classification types. You can see that in the current Schedule F, we had a number of different types of classification types, including body rub parlors and other types of business classifications that we're really, in looking at other jurisdictions, maybe we did not need to have separated out from the standard license fee. In looking at all the other fees and charges bylaws of our South Okanagan, only us and the city of Kelowna maintain such a large plethora of classification types. Most other jurisdictions, like Osoyoos and Penticton, had pretty much used the standardized business license fee. It did not include the different classification types, except for specific reasons, and I'll get into some of our recommendations. So that was another thing too, and we think that will help with administration of business license fees and not having to manually calculate the fee for a different calculation type each time, as well as provide ease for the public in determining what fee is going to be charged to them for their business license fee. Next one. And then finally, our third recommendation here for Amendment Bylaw 2021-46 is to reduce the fee for the standard business license fee. And looking at our comparison jurisdictions, we were on the upper end of the spectrum. We think the reduced rate of $125 is probably a more balanced approach for the district moving forward, and it's in line with West Kelowna and Kelowna. Next slide. So here's our proposed amended bylaw schedule. For Schedule F, will be what we're proposing is a repeal and replacement of the current Schedule F. You can see that some of the current classification types have been carried forward into this table, primarily to do with the tourism sector. So just to list them here, agritourism accommodation, which was a new inclusion just past July, bed and breakfast, hotel, motels, and campgrounds, and also retail store licensed cannabis is proposed to remain. And usually these tourism-oriented businesses are at a little bit higher rate than our standard license fee. Question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So your campgrounds, like including the 3 spots on farmland?
That would fall under the agritourism accommodation license.
Okay.
So it'd be the $100 charge.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll keep moving forward. We also are recommending that we still keep a reduced fee for those business types that we want to encourage small form entrepreneurship and small businesses, such as home occupation type 1s, as I previously identified, day homes up to 7 kids within your day home, as well as fruit stands as a new inclusion at a reduced rate fee of $50 to encourage those type of agribusinesses to locate here within the district. And then finally, there's a few additional classifications added here that weren't in our schedule before. Movie production being one that we were recommending at a higher rate than our standard license fee, because we feel that this is a a new kind of impact that we're seeing within our community. We are getting a lot of demand for movies being produced within our district. And definitely there is an impact to our local businesses, as well as through road closures of residential areas as another example, where we think that they should be subjected to a higher license fee. The seasonal fee has been added as well for primarily tourist-oriented businesses that operate only from May till September during the tourism season. So it's a reduced fee for a seasonal business. And then we also have a special event license, which is a per day rate that we're proposing for a wedding event or a festival of some sort being held here in town for a weekend or some sort of other type of thing that requires only a daily rate for a license. Yeah. Next slide. And then finally here, before we get into questions, our finance department, actually I have one more slide following this. Our finance department provided a revenue analysis of the impacts of these changes with the new schedule. And we looked at the 2019 year, because that was the last year we had without COVID-19 impacts. We received a total of $152,000 in revenue. If we would have reduced the classification types as well as reduced the standard fee amount to $125, we would have expected to see a revenue of $116,000 as opposed to $152,000. This is a reduction of $37,000. However, I do want to mention that we are experiencing growth in the number of business licenses issued, so that should offset some of that impact. And then our finance department as well mentioned that to council that if because we did issue deferrals in the last business license renewal year to 2022, any outstanding amounts, if the fee is reduced with this proposed amendment, it might not sync with the amount that was deferred from 2021. So we might have to defer a portion of their license fee to the next year, being 2023, if it's a different fee than what was charged in 2021. Next slide. And finally, we did present these amendments to the Development Process Improvement Advisory Committee on October 20th. Comments from the committee included support for further standardization of the classification types to make it easier for the business community to interpret, as well as to not punish business growth, was one of their comments. As well, they also support the reduced standard fee and feel the $125 amount is a balanced approach. And so they provided a resolution of support. Next slide. So our recommendation is if council supports the proposed amendments, that they provide 3 readings today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Council, do you have questions or further questions? Councillor Holmes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this, Brad. I certainly agree with the idea of standardizing the fees and consolidating the classifications as much as possible. And I was just wondering, I guess maybe some of the rationale for the different fees and different classifications. So just to put in context, so when we discussed the retail cannabis, when that first came to us, for example, it was kind of an unknown quantity. We didn't know what the impact would be, and we thought there might be more regulation involved, more potentially RCMP time, more staff of our staff time, and so that's the way we kind of thought it should be a higher than a normal just retail business license fee. And I don't know if that's, now that we've had some time behind us, if that's in fact the case or not. And then some of the other fees here, so like the different tourism fees for more per room, childcare, minor and major. Is that because those would be requiring more inspections and more, is there more regulations that we need to deal with to justify the different fees, or are there some other rationale?
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Holmes. Maybe I'll start with the first one there, retail store licensed cannabis. Definitely, we're willing to consider any recommendations from council on this one. I wasn't here at the time when these bylaw amendments were brought forward for retail store licensed cannabis. It was done a few years ago. I think a lot of jurisdictions at the time, like you said, were cautious with implementation of the changes, and most did include a higher rate for cannabis stores. I can't speak on behalf of the RCMP. I don't think we've had a lot of complaints, at least from the bylaw enforcement side, for the operation of those stores. I think they're heavily regulated through LCRB, the Liquor Control Board. So, I think that there may not be the justification of it, but that could be something that we'd like to get a recommendation from council on. And then the other ones there, the agritourism accommodation and bed and breakfasts, the per room charge, we think that there is a larger impact to the surrounding neighborhood where those businesses are located. The larger the operation, that's why there is a larger fee for greater than 3 or 2 bedrooms. You could get a fairly large bed and breakfast, for example, which has an impact. So they should be subject to a larger fee. For childcare centers and also home occupations, the reason why there's differentiated types there is because we wanted to encourage that reduced fee for the smaller form of those. So if you look at the major, it's $125, which is for a childcare center, which is our standard fee. But then a reduced rate just to kind of show that there's the smaller form version we're trying to encourage. And same with home occupations type ones, if that makes sense.
So the thought process then is that, so you have $125, that's your standard fee or your standard business. If it's a greater than the normal impact, then you put a premium on that. If it's something then you want to a sort of thing you want to encourage, then you have a reduction. Would that basically it?
That's correct. I would think we look at the neighborhoods that these facilities are going in, like this bed and breakfasts and even the agritourism accommodation, childcare center, minors and majors, home occupations. They're in residential areas. They're not in commercial districts, not being taxed, commercial taxation. They could have an impact on the surrounding neighborhood that they're located in. So they should be treated a bit differently than a standard business.
Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering could you tell us what a liquor store license would be?
They would be subject to the standard rate of $125 from us, but they would also be required to get their own license from the LCRB for selling of liquor.
So cannabis would be the same? They would have to have a license from us and from the government?
Correct.
Oh, sorry. Please go ahead, and then Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to throw it out to council, if this is the appropriate time, that we reduce the retail store licensed cannabis to match what the liquor stores are paying. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Right now, the fee for a cannabis shop, the license fee is $400, is it not? So we're not doing anything to the cannabis store, but maintaining what we currently are seeing.
Yeah, through the mayor to Council Patton, that's correct. Yeah, we're just carrying forward the current license fee of $400. That's in our schedule.
Thank you. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Penticton's $2,500. I think Vernon's $2,000. I believe Kelowna is well over $9,000 or somewhere's in there. So I don't think $400 is out of line for a cannabis shop in Summerland. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Patton. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just, I guess, I think we do need to recognize cannabis is a bit more of an administrative burden for us because we do have to process those. They do have to come to us. So I think, them paying a little bit more than a standard fee would make some sense because we have to, it's more work for us and staff. $2,000 might be a bit much. But
Any other questions, Council? No? Okay, would someone like to bring forward a resolution or an amended resolution? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, that the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 2021-046 get Schedule F business license fees be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Holmes. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. Thank you. Now on to 7.2, Water Advisory Committee, Terms of Reference Amendments. And this is for Kendra.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before Council is proposed amendments to the Water Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. These amendments include a clause requiring committee members to undertake any training as required by the district, including bullying and harassment, and adding a clause to require 2 additional staff members, both the Director of Works and Infrastructure and the Director of Utilities, to attend meetings, and other general housekeeping amendments such as updating the Council Procedure Bylaw number in the Terms of Reference.
Thanks, Kendra. Any questions of our corporate officer? Okay. I'd like to invite someone to bring forward their resolution. Councillor Holmes?
Sorry, I just wanted to, well, first of all, just a minor thing, but it's not park anymore. It's the Summerland Research Center. So that would be just a pretty minor amendment, I think. My only question on the membership is I see that, we've changed it so it should represent these groups, but I'm just wondering how useful it is to have those listed there kind of as, in stone, when the reality is when we get applications, we tend to choose the best people wherever they come from. And if we end up with, 3 tree fruit people and we can't find a nursery or a hay pasture person, that's what we go with. So I'm just wondering, is that list of the different groups really necessary?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Holmes. So that is why we added the word should, and staff is sitting down further to review these terms of reference. So I do expect that they will be coming before council again, with the membership being one of the things that will be reviewed and considered.
Councillor Barkwell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand Councillor Holmes' point, and I agree with our staff's choice of using the word should. We don't always get people from the various sectors of the agriculture community, so leaving it there just as a reminder that although we probably don't need that reminder, but it doesn't do any harm to be there, that we want to try and have a broad section of the different types of agriculture on the committee where possible. So it doesn't bind us in any way, but it serves as a reminder.
Anyone else? Kendra, if you just might add the word will, very last sentence when it's speaking about the staff that will be available. Just a little teensy thing. And just reiterating what Councillor Holmes said, just so you have it in full, Summerland Research and Development Center, so SRDC. Okay, anything else? We've been nitpicking this. Well, at least I have. Okay, could I have someone bring forward the recommendation, please? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, that the Water Advisory Committee terms of reference be amended as outlined in the report from the corporate officer dated November 8, 2021.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Van Elfen, or sorry, Councillor Patton. Any further discussion? All in favor? And none opposed, thank you. Now on to the big piece, we're right on time. Quarterly update, strategic priorities for Q3 of 2021. And this is going to be introduced by our CAO, Graham Stat.
All right. Well, as that gets loaded, I will start just by saying, in reminder, so for Q3, that's ending end of September of this year, 2021. So all of the updates you'll see today are in thinking of that horizon. And this serves sort of as council's dashboard on their priorities. We do like to come in and walk through all of the various priorities, one slide per each, and then talk about any updates. It's been a busy year. There's been a lot of transition in staff and of course continuing challenges on other things from supply chains to, issues associated with finding good vendors for some of our capital projects, but we've made a lot of progress. I'm very proud of what we've seen up to and including Q3. This first slide is council strategic priorities at a very high level. So these 5 bubbles, infrastructure investment, good governance, community resilience, alternative energy, active lifestyles, and downtown vibrancy. And those sort of serve as the overarching kind of umbrellas that other priorities fall into. And so we'll go to the next slide. And really that's how you'll recall we've sorted all the other individuals' priorities is under those overarching headings. And so we'll be talking about all these priorities as we work through. You'll also note that we do have the Eco-Village priority in the slides today as we've continued work in that priority as well. And so without further ado, I'll move to priority 1.1, which is the asset management. It is 1:45, and that's great because we're starting right on time. And I hope we can get through all the slides today. So over to you, Madam Mayor, I guess, if you want to.
All right. Thank you, Graham. And I guess the first person that will be speaking is on asset management is Joe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, priority 1.1 is asset management. And in Q3, we continue to advance the district's asset management program and completing some items on the asset management roadmap. Specifically in Q3, we had a few members of staff attend a level of service or a few level of service workshops. As well, we completed in-house the GIS needs assessment for the district. That moves us to one of the next steps, which is actually incorporating some of those GIS needs assessments into the 2022 budgets, which you'll see in the coming weeks. And as with the asset management plan, it's sort of an ongoing process. So we continue to review and improve the data quality throughout the year. Any questions on asset management?
Good. We'll go through questions at each slide, and then that'll keep the thing rolling. Councillor Barkwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a little curious about the GIS needs assessment because I was under the impression that we were already on a sort of a comprehensive GIS program and had budgeted quite a bit to update our GIS system already, and that was, yeah. So is that not was turning out to be insufficient in some way?
Through the mayor, no, it's not insufficient. It's just one of those ever-changing items. So as we come up with more information, such as the road study and those sorts of things, we can add those to our GIS software, as well as training our staff in using it to its full capacity. It is a very, very powerful tool that we'll continue to use in the coming years. But it is one of those ones that has to be constantly updated as things change throughout the district.
Thanks.
Example of that probably would be the floodplain mapping that OBWB has completed and the LiDAR data that they send us. So yeah, it's an ongoing process. Okay, any other questions on this first slide? Okay, you're up again for the 10-year capital plan, roads and water.
Thank you. So this is priority 1.2, and we've also combined priority 1.5 into this as well, which was the road condition assessment, which Mayor and Council are aware that we completed in 2019. So activity to date was the road assessment, but the planned project for the coming year in 2022, which is grant funded, is combining our roads and our water, basically the asset management systems, to basically create some criteria to prioritize our roads and water main improvements. So it'd be a shame to, for example, dig up a road and repave it and find out the following year that one of the water mains needed to be replaced at that time. So what this will do is it'll evaluate all of the roads, and it's looking at, you know, some of the roads that are in poor condition, but it also looks at the volume on those roads. If it's a high volume road that's not in great shape, that'll definitely be a priority to take care of. But if it's a lower volume road that's in reasonably good shape, it might be a little longer down the road. Unless, for example, there's a water main that's desperately needs to be changed out. So this project is, we're looking to issue the RFP in Q1 or Q2 of 2022. And hopefully bring the full 10-year prioritized capital plan to council in Q4 of next year.
I have a question on that. We've already been awarded the grant.
Yes.
Have we? Okay,
yes,
thank you.
We have.
Okay, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My only concern is we need to have a roadmap of where we're going. The problem that now this is me, is when I drive around the district, we're not seeing anything happening with our roads. And I get that we need the road condition report, but there are those wins that we can get that we're not taking advantage of. And we all hear of it. And so my question being is, you have your report coming in your, the quarter of 2022, 2023, the final quarter? Was
Yes.
that 20? Yes. So what is the plan as we move forward to then on our roads that where we do have some roads in pretty poor shape? And what is the plan? Because we can't wait until then for a road study. We need to know, where are we moving and how are we moving there, just to get some of our roads completed.
For sure, yes. Through the mayor, we do have some road work identified in the coming budget for 2022. We know that we do have to continually maintain the roads, and patching isn't ideal in a lot of situations. So we do have smaller ones, but we do have some roads projects planned for the coming year that you'll see in the capital budgets when they come to council in, I guess it's in the new year. I don't believe there were too many major road projects done this year, but we will look to definitely advance those moving forward, because roads are one that we have to stay on top of for sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Traynor?
Sure, yeah. I agree with what Councillor Patton just said. It is the number one thing we hear. We hear about the roads all the time in Summerland and the condition of them. And so I think that once this report is done, and maybe even sooner, the more information that we can share with the public, and I said this last time that we talked about this, the better. Like, if they can see that this plan, once it's available and it's put on our website, then they can see it's, instead of asking us all the time about a condition of a road, they can go to the website and they can see where that road is ranked and when it's going to be fixed next. And then if we do have any projects coming up, like even if they're little, patchworks or whatever, if those projects could be somehow mentioned in the newsletter. So again, people know what's happening with the roads, because we all understand why they take a long time to be done, because you need to get the money to get the infrastructure underneath the roads before you pave them. But to the public, they just see potholes. And so the more information that we can share with people, the more transparent we can be, and the more we can keep them updated on our projects, again, whether they're big or small, in our newsletter, I think that that goes a long way to educating the taxpayers. Thanks.
And just so you know, Councillor Trainer, yes, it is on our website and it is shared in our newsletters already, but it's beholden to the taxpayer to actually read the material that's presented.
Yes, and we do a good job. The newsletters are very good, but I still get questions, and I know, like, you still see people complaining. So just the more we can continue to share, even if it sounds redundant to us, we can even tell one more person that we're going to be paving a certain road, that would help.
Yeah, but again, they have to read it and take in the information themselves. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think it's really important for us to manage that we do this work, that whether we prioritize these things. But at the same time, I agree that with the asset management work we have done to date, we must know that there's, a half dozen or whatever roads that are top priority, that so let's just pick one and do this work while we're, sorting out the detailed priorities. I think it's kind of frustrating for people this year that not to see. Last year was great. We did some really good road repaving work up to the landfill and Victoria North, and so I think people really appreciate that. Then they come and see, well, this year we didn't do anything. So I think we need to do it continuously. It's because otherwise we just get further and further behind. So.
Councillor Patton.
Van Alphen will work, but thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, I looked straight at you. Councillor Van Alphen.
It's all good, thank you. I've been called worse, trust me. Not lately. Will this also distinguish between, maybe grind and mill and replace versus complete reconstruction? Because I'm just using like Main Street for an example. Would be a prime candidate probably for just a grind and relay. I don't know the terminology they use, and then you've got other roads in our community like Giant's Head that's going to be a massive project. Will this help us with that too?
Correct, through the mayor. What it does is it shows the priorities for what type of asphalt replacement needs to be done. So there's mill and fill. Sometimes it's just patching. Sometimes it's the entire road has to be redone, rebuilt right from the subgrade up. So this looks at which roads are going to need that subgrade up, and it'll identify that there's also a water main that's from 1940 in that same road. Let's do them both at the same time so that we're only ripping the road up once. But some roads don't need the complete repaving. Just running through with a miller and then placing asphalt on top is a suitable solution.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, on to the next slide.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That leads us perfectly into one of the major potential road projects for next year. This is the roadway, water main, and drainage improvements for about 2.6 kilometers along Giant's Head Road from Harris to Hilborn. Council's very aware of this project, and they will be receiving a report at the November 22nd meeting with some options moving forward. But in short, in Q3, we did review some short-term road improvements, which include just paving of the road. But there will be other options in there that show there are some water mains that do need replacement in the area. So we'll bring some borrowing options to council at that meeting. And if council did want to move ahead with this project, we are fairly close to being tender ready and could construct in 2022. But I'll leave it to that report to go into the details about that one.
Okay, thank you. So as part of our budget discussions, we can talk about the borrowing options and how to move forward potentially with that.
Yes, we'll actually bring it to an earlier council meeting because there are some important time-sensitive decisions that council will potentially have to make prior to the capital budget process. So that's why we're bringing it to the second meeting in November for council to have a first look at.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions on this? It's good to see this on the table, isn't it, council? Okay. Thank you, Joe. And next up is our Director of the Electrical Utility, General Manager of the Electrical Utility, Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to refresh everyone's memory on voltage conversion, Summerland has a legacy 8,000 volt power system running through town. That's all the wires at the top of all the power poles, which we call primary power. So that's an old legacy voltage. It is causing some problems in Summerland in regards to sort of stifling some of the potential business activity that could go on, making it high cost for power supply for larger customers. So this voltage conversion project was to take that legacy voltage up to 25,000 volts, which is industry standard across Canada. It also gives us some better buying power because all of the other utilities buy infrastructure at 25,000 volts, so it lowers some of our costs in that regard. And provides some efficiencies because some of the old transformers we have aren't as efficient as the new CSA transformers. So in Q3 activity, we did apply for a ICIP grant. That grant was denied for the voltage conversion. So currently, for next steps, we're planning on talking to council about voltage conversion at the budget meetings. Just to refresh your memory, this was part of the energy strategy. So we can discuss whether or not we'd like to see Summerland fund this ourselves or apply for any further grants that may come up. But not to let the cat out of the bag, but the next ICIP grant, we likely won't be recommending this project for because it's written a little bit differently than previous years. And this project likely wouldn't score very high. But currently we are building all of our new construction to 25 kV, 25,000 volts. And so we can replace the system through attrition, which is an option that utilities quite often take to spread out the cost over time.
Questions on this one? Councillor Van Elfen. Oh, no, sorry. Oh, I see the shadow. I see Councillor Holmes' shadow in your glass there. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. So if we do this through attrition, you know, because we're not being that successful at the grants, I guess how long would it take?
Through the mayor, decades.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then to follow up, so if we were a bit more purposeful about it and decided we'd do it through phases, I guess realistically, could you, for budget, bring forward a plan of how we could do it through, you know, over 5 years or whatever, and how much it would be per year? Would that be a realistic thing to bring forward at budget time?
Thank you, Councillor. Through the mayor, that would be the approach. Even if we did decide to do this project as sort of one project, it would be a phased approach anyway. You can't convert a power system sort of in 1 year. It would be by feeder anyway. So yes, we already have some estimates for that we can bring forward at budget time. So absolutely, we can bring that forward and or sort of have it in the back pocket for budget discussions. Any budgets that were done prior to COVID will be drastically out of date and need to be refreshed because the cost of materials has increased considerably.
I'll get it right this time, Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question through to our director. If it was a phased approach, is this an in-house project? Can we do this with ours your staff?
Thank you for the question to the mayor. The grant funding, the two grants that we applied on for this would not allow that. It would have to be all external. Although we did request in the grant to allow for internal staff, but that would be up to them. The grant guidelines don't allow for that, so that would be our cost, wouldn't be grant eligible. If we were funding it ourselves, it is something we could do in-house. We can certainly do it at a lower cost. We don't have the staff to do it currently, but that could be a council decision to staff up for, you know, a 10-year program or 5-year program or something like that. So it is an option.
Any other questions? I just have one question, and it speaks to your statement about the outcome being more resilient energy with increased capacity to withstand extreme weather. I understand the extreme weather part of that, which might be a bit of an angle to getting some funding, you know, with the, you know, what's it called, roadmap to 2030. I'm wondering, and I'm not sure if you can answer this, but we've talked in the past about line loss, like loss of, is converting to the 25 kilovolt system, is that, does that result in less line loss, which makes us more resilient?
The reduced line losses don't result in more resiliency. It results in a increased efficiency of the system. So the studies we've done on voltage conversion here show a 5% efficiency gain in the power system. And that's from old transformers being replaced that aren't built as efficiently, so they're effectively heating the outside ambient air. So we're replacing those with efficient transformers and replacing conductor with larger conductor that has smaller losses. So the conductor we have now is also heating the outside air to some extent. So increasing the voltage, because there's a squared in the formula, gives us a 9 times improvement in our line loss efficiency. So you bundle all that together, along with some separations from phase to phase and some other things like that, and we get about 5% efficiency gain. So that's 5% that we're losing right now to just literally heating the outside air. And we buy from the wholesale power provider and we sell to the customers, and then there's 5% in between that we could get back or we could use as sales. So that's part of the business case for this project.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Jeremy. Back to your counterpart there on Ineas Creek.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This project, Priority 1.6, is completing the repairs from the 2018 high flow in Ineas Creek. In Q3, we finalized the design and the tender documents for the 6 projects which were highlighted as district projects. Our next step is to actually go to tender with these projects. We're hoping in Q1 to go to tender. Basically what we're waiting for right now is provincial approvals. The Water Sustainability Act approval is expected. I actually expect it by now, but hopefully in Q4 we'll get that. As soon as that comes online, we'll go to tender very shortly thereafter to have this project move ahead. We're also going to be working on the Ineas Creek Flood Mitigation Plan. This was a grant we received this year, to basically map the entire Ineas Creek to look at the 200-year flows. And the outcome of this is essentially to help us obtain grants in the future because we can show what the requirements on that creek are going to be. So this will help our success rate, likely in grants, to top up some of these projects.
Councillor Van Elfen and then Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if we get an answer in Q4 and we go to tender, there's that window of opportunity that we're going to be allowed to work on the creek, correct?
Yes.
So we're probably another year away before we can set foot in the creek?
We're hoping to do some of the works in the general area. What we can do, we will do as soon as possible, but the Water Sustainability Act will come back with certain windows that we can't touch. So yeah. We're just waiting, as is everyone. They were overloaded with projects, and the approvals are a little bit slower than usual. So
Okay, thank you.
we're hoping.
I guess people should have registered their wells on time. I'm pretty sure it was 2017 that we had the biggest, highest waters, and so I just make a note of that. 2018 was high as well, but 2017 is the year that we were quite concerned, which by 2022 will be 5 years ago. So I hope that it doesn't take another 195 years till we get a plan in place. But it just, that process is unbelievable. So I hope that it's worthwhile once this is completed.
Councillor Holmes, and then I'll go back to Councillor Van Elfen.
Yes, thank you. So the Okanagan Basin Water Board just recently put in this network of hydrometric stations, monitoring stations all around the Okanagan, and we have one in Trout Creek now. I'm just wondering if for the Eneas Creek flood mitigation plan, if having one of those stations in Eneas Creek would be useful for developing that plan or not.
Through the mayor, it may be. I don't know enough about that project to know what the cost is for that, but those stations are valuable wherever they're put in, both to the district here, but also to the greater basin that we have. So
Okay.
It's something I will look at for sure.
Yeah, might be something worth following up on. Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, just with the, when we get the approvals, maybe there'll be different areas that aren't as sensitive, such as like Peach Orchard Trail, for instance, we might be able to get in there before like Garnet Avenue, perhaps, because of, fish habitat or what have you. But I'm hoping that, like you say, it's been a long time here. And Peach Orchard Trail's basically been closed now for 5 years plus. And it's an absolute crying shame. It's a jewel in our parks and trails. And sooner than later, I hope. Thank you.
Okay. Back to the other half of the tag team here. Jeremy, Ice and Talk Dam upgrades.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ice and Talk. So this project's to replace the low-level outlet pipe intake, the outlet structure, riprap, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if council's had a chance to drop in on that project at all through the fall, but an amazing project, a large project for Summerland. And for Q3 activities, we did award to Dent Construction, and so they've been out there and they've been doing a good job. And we've got the access road upgrade completed, although we did do some work on that in Q4 as well. But sticking with the Q3 items, we did drain the reservoir, coffer dam was installed, we removed the existing pipe, inlet and outlet, started on some forming work, and started the riprap replacement. We've gotten substantially further than that in Q4, but that can wait for a Q4 update. And you can see the next steps there. A number of those are complete as well. I also bring to council's attention that the driftwood that was left in the reservoir, we will be bringing that to council with some options in December, the December 13th meeting.
Thank you. I really appreciate the videos and the pictures that have been taken up there. It's so fascinating to see the scope of that project. Any questions? All right. Oh, Councillor Holmes.
Just a comment, but I'm sure everybody saw the article about the work here, and I think it was on CBC website, yeah, which I thought was really well done. And so, yeah, it was great that we got that publicity. Thanks.
Okay, next slide's for you as well, Jeremy, the Trout Creek flume.
Thank you. Trout Creek flume. So unfortunately, with Trout Creek flume, we were denied the grant again. So this is, I believe, the third time that we've lost grant funding there. For next steps, we're going to discuss this project again with council at our budget meetings and see what sort of options we have. We'll throw some on the table for discussion. The project is something we need to complete at some point here, and maybe be looking at some phased approaches. But we will definitely be keeping an eye out for future grant opportunities still.
Questions on this one, council? All right, so Joe, Organics Processing Facility. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the priority 1.9 organics processing, we prepared the site for construction to start on this project. We also finalized the tender, and the tender will be released in Q1 of 2022. With this project and with all the communities that received this grant, there was an extension of the deadline until May 31st, 2024. We actually see this as an opportunity not to delay our project, but to alter our schedule to have our work done in a better working window, essentially avoid the expensive winter work and have the work done through spring and very early summer of next year. So this will hopefully bring in better pricing from the contractors that we're working with. So we'll construct in Q2 and Q3 of 2022 with the grand opening in Q3 of 2022. With the organic curbside collection program, the rollout is going to be in early 2023 and sort of 2023 Q2 through Q4. We did submit for a grant for that project and hope to have some information on that soon.
Thank you. Questions on the organic processing facility? Councillor Van Alphen.
Thank you. Just curious, there's a company that I see in town, I think it's called Nature's Gold. I think they're established up at the Brenda Mines site, and they're collecting compost materials here in Summerland. Is that going to affect us in any which way, shape, or form? Because they seem to be quite aggressive. I think they're picking up organics from the Soyuz North and taking it up to Brenda's and processing it there. So I don't know if they're just hitting restaurants and larger facilities, but I just find it possible competition. You know, are we going to get enough materials to make this work? So just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, through the mayor, my understanding is we will have enough material just within the district here to keep ours going. There is some sort of a processing plant planned for up at the old Brenda Mine site that I'm aware of. I didn't hear that it had started up yet, but maybe it has. But they're looking for any type of wood waste from around the region. But I do think that just being local here in Summerland, we will have the material here to make our facility a success.
Any other questions on this one? Okay. Back to Jeremy, Watershed Management.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This strategic priority is to update our source water assessment and to develop a new source water protection plan, or source water protection plan. So for the source water assessment, we were successful in a grant, 22,000 for an OBWB in this last Q3. And our competition closed a couple weeks ago for having a consultant start on this work. And then for next year and next steps, we have the source water protection plan that we'll be working on.
Good. Questions on this one? Councillor Holmes?
question or comment, I guess. So as I'm sure you're aware, again, the Okanagan Basin Water Board's doing a lot of work on source water protection these days, and they have that toolkit, which I think they're coming to present to us about next meeting. They've been in conjunction that they've been doing these webinars, and there was one from the Regional District of North Okanagan, the Greater Vernon Water Utility, about the Duto, if I pronounce that right, Creek Watershed Plan that they've put together. And when they have some of the same issues that we have when you think of all the uses of our upland water, the forestry and the Forest Service roads and agriculture, recreation, and everything like that, all competing and having a potential impact on our watershed. And I think they've taken a really interesting approach of how you get all these different users and who are potentially impacting the watershed together through a technical advisory committee that's part of which is part of their plan. And they meet, and there's representations from government, from First Nations, and all these different user groups on it. And they meet twice a year to basically reach a consensus on how we can implement the plan. I think that there's a case study on it, and I really think might be worth talking to them to see how they do it, because I see that's going to be the big challenge for us as well, is how do we get all these different diverse groups with different interests working together to a common purpose. Thanks.
Thanks for those comments, Councillor, through the mayor. We are working with OBWB. We do meet with them regularly. I can't remember if it's monthly now or bi-monthly or what have you, but there is a working group there. And so, yeah, we are plugged into that.
Okay, questions? Any further questions? On to, back to Joe for the perpetual slide.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for Q3, our priority was actually finalizing the water main tender for up along Canyon View. This is another example of a road that will be repaved due to a water main being installed. But that project is now with procurement. So it'll be tendered this quarter, and construction starting essentially as soon as the snow is gone and they're able to start work in Q1 of 2022. We've also been working with the steering committee, the Trout Creek Steering Committee, which is ONA and PIB. Continue to meet with them, I would say every month is what it seems like, maybe every second month. And they're always coming up with some good ideas for us to look at, and that they're also looking at. But our main project for the coming year is definitely getting that water main installed to get rid of any potential leak that we have up there. Following that, we'll definitely move forward on looking at some of the other recommendations in the 2015 report that are noted in the slide as well.
That should help a bit with the road maintenance as well, right? Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, could you just, could I just ask, I guess, what the steering committee's role is, and is there other representation on it, such as the province?
Yes, through the mayor. There are, and I don't know who all the members are of the group. I've only actually been to one meeting thus far, but there are members of the province that are part of it. There's a few members, just local residents from Summerland, that are on the committee. And a lot of it is just that there's so much information out there, is bringing all the different individuals together, all with a common goal. And again, I've only been to one meeting, but it feels like a fairly proactive group.
I think there's federal government representation too with SRDC right there.
There is, yes.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, any further questions on that last slide from Joe? Okay, Brad, lead us home.
Thanks, Your Worship. So for priority 1.12, Deer Ridge Sewer, just an update for council with regards to Q3 activity. We did have an engagement session with adjacent landowners more familiar and related to the eco-village concept, but we did talk about sewer extension routes to the Deer Ridge area at that meeting. And as well, council's aware, we are including consideration of the different routes to get to Deer Ridge through the eco-village project as part of the design charrette process that we're going to be initiating at the end of this year, or end of this month, sorry, I should say. So that's happening in Q4 as the next step. We are internally discussing the idea of a potential grant application for extension of sewer to the Deer Ridge area, including the eco-village project. And that would be needing to be submitted by the end of January 2022. So that would be another next step. And then as well, another next step would be to determine if there's any local improvement areas and charges that would be required from the neighborhoods that would be required to pay as part of this potential sewer expansion project.
Questions on this one? I just have one question, and that is, if I'm reading the map correctly, the green portion is the piece that comes up Taylor Place, I think it's called. I'm wondering if there is the potential, at least, to have another local service area. What's it called? You know where the new Heron Place, Cartwright Estates or something like that? So it's north of where it shows the little bit on Cartwright right now. Is there a potential there to have another local service area contributing to the project? Because I don't think they're on sewer, are they? Oh, they are on sewer. Okay, never mind that question. I thought they had a community. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Van Elfen.
I know it was a while ago, quite a while ago. I think it's west of Deer Ridge. There was a developer at one point in time with potential of X amount of lots. Have we had discussions with this person? Because they would be contributing, I'm sure, a fair amount in the future.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Van Helfen. Yes, we've had engagement with that landowner as early as January this past year. We've also had him attend the Eco-Village adjacent landowner meeting. He was there in attendance and as you can imagine, supportive of council's consideration of the Eco-Village project. So, and yeah, there seems some willingness, I think, for cost sharing.
Okay, if there aren't any further questions on this, we'll go on to the second section called Good Governance. And Brad, you're first up on this piece.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first one, priority 2.1, is process improvement, which primarily deals with the development services area, although it does touch all of our areas when it comes to customer service and improving customer service to the general public. For Q3 activity, we've done a lot of bylaw updates. We updated our fees and charges that hadn't been looked at in a number of years. In July, we also initiated the agritourism accommodation pilot project based on a request from the Chamber of Commerce in July as well. And that pilot project is proceeding. We initiated a customer feedback survey at our front counter downstairs at Development Services to engage with our customers to gather their feedback and determine what we're doing well and what we're not doing well, and determine how we want to make any changes. Council also saw some recent driveway access bylaw amendments to also improve our customer service, as well as provide clarity in that bylaw for both staff interpretation and to the general public. And as part of this goal as well, we've initiated the STEP code and building bylaw review project. And the engagement process for that, we started engaging with the general public in September. Initiated surveys, and the surveys are still being collected. So I encourage you to get the word out still, and getting community participation in the survey we have on our website. And we're also going to be hosting a breakfast event on November 19th at the Arts and Cultural Center, in partnership with the RDOS on implementation of the STEP code. Next steps, we want to prioritize an RFP being drafted with our procurement department for the new software grant we received from UBCM. Don't know quite yet on the timing of that, but hopefully the Q4 or Q1 of next year. There's a couple of additional projects that staff have identified, and we'll be bringing forward council reports to council for council's consideration. One being is the review of secondary homes on agricultural lands in response to the ALC's policy shift that occurred this past July in allowing now secondary homes on our agricultural parcels. As well, including in that, we want to review our current carriage house regulations that apply to residential zone properties. And so it'd be kind of looking at a housing supply review of our zoning bylaw regulations, and see if we can encourage more small forms of homes on existing properties. And then further to that, as we mentioned at the last time, we brought administrative updates to our zoning bylaw last fall in 2020. We want to bring forward another update to our zoning bylaw, and like I mentioned, to kind of review this annually. This will probably be around a Q2 item, I think, of next year, not as high priority as the secondary home review, but something that staff want to bring forward to just ensure that we're keeping that zoning bylaw relevant with council. I'm happy to take any questions on this one.
Councillor Holmes?
Thank you. This might come under our alternative energy priority as much as this one, but it's to do with building. So I heard that to install an EV charging station in a single detached house, it's like $300 or $400 if you do it when you're building the house, versus like over $1,000 if you install it later. And I've heard that some municipalities are looking at requiring EV charging stations be part of any new builds for single detached housing. And I'm just wondering if that's ever come up in your world, and either with the committee or wherever, and if it's an idea that we might be able to explore.
Through your worship, to Councillor Holmes. Yeah, thank you for the question. And yeah, I am aware that there's been discussion with other local governments about that provision, and it is related to my area and the building bylaw. That would be the place where we would require it. One item that we are considering as well, and we have a question in our survey out to the public, is not just EV charging, but also solar ready for solar panels on your roof to ensure that you have conduit up to your rooftop built during the building process, even if you don't want to put panels in the future. So that's another thing as well. Other local governments have mandated for any new home construction that they require solar ready construction as part of their building bylaw. So that is something we could propose as part of these amendments, and definitely looking for some guidance from council in this area. So that would help us in preparing a draft bylaw as well to go to the community.
Councillor Barkwell?
Yeah, along the same lines as what Councillor Holmes has brought up, I think it's particularly problematic for any buildings that would be apartment buildings. I mean, an individual homeowner can retrofit his house if he so chooses and decides, but for when everybody's going to be required to have cars that are electric and you live in an apartment, it's going to be a real issue. So I think our very first priority is to insist that new apartment type buildings have wiring for electric vehicles.
Thank you. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the conduit for solar, is that not going to be part of the step code? That, I don't know what step of the code it is, but it's part of the step code?
Through your worship to Councillor Van Helfen, the step code more so deals with regulating the energy efficiency of the house itself. So more the insulation and the airproofness of the house to reduce the amount of energy required. It doesn't matter if that energy is coming from natural gas or a solar source. The step code is designed around not so much greenhouse gas reductions, but more so energy efficiency. So it's higher form insulation, air tightness, that type of thing. So no, that is the answer to your question. It does not require solar panel installation as part of its requirements.
Anyone else? Okay, on to the next slide. This is over to Graham. Penticton Indian Band relationship and priorities.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pleased to speak to this. So council will recall in May, there was a council-to-council meeting and several actions were tracked from that. So I'm reporting a little bit on those today. In Q3, there was the solar and storage project, as well as the Eco Village site tour that occurred with membership from the Council of PIB. That was on July 5th. Also, coming from that original May council meeting, there was a request of the chief of PIB for council to raise with the minister during UBCM the idea of the place names issue and the opportunity for potentially not only signage but programs to fund Indigenous place names and signage, and that did occur on September 13th. Council raised this with the minister. Also, in terms of next steps flowing again from those actions, there was a request for the Pierre family road naming, and that would be now added to 300.1 street naming regulations policy for future considerations. So we followed up on that. We're currently working with the PIB council assistants to arrange for the PIB engagement on the proposed recreation center. Council will recall you set aside a $10,000 budget to appropriately engage PIB throughout the project, and so we're endeavoring to do so. And in fact, the mayor and chief met the other day, and this was raised also at that time. So I think they're quite excited about being involved in that. There was also a request of PIB to explore servicing opportunities in their lands, some of which are near our rodeo grounds. They're in the process of identifying contact on their end to be the one point of contact for them to work with us on those servicing opportunities, or at least exploring what's in the realm of the possible in terms of long-term planning. And so we're just waiting back to hear from them on that, and then planning for the possible joint education and enforcement of the trappers area. You'll recall in the springtime, and I think it's a regular facet of springtime near Summerland, the trappers area becomes inundated with campers. And there's fires and sometimes illegal dumping and other things as people wait for other areas to open up. And then the trappers area becomes very busy, and so too do the lands around the trappers area, many of which belong to the PIB. And of course, there's also private lands there. So we are going to be putting up some proper signage and doing some joint patrols, and we've raised that again with PIB. They do have a guardian program there that we'll work with, and obviously with the RCMP and our own bylaw. So that's certainly still on top of mind for us, and it's building into our planning for the springtime. In conversation with my counterpart, CAO Joe Johnson at PIB, we're going to be planning for another council-to-council meeting, hopefully this calendar year, and we'll start to assemble some agenda items there for the council-to-council conversation. So that's where we're at with the PIB update.
Questions on this? Okay, on to the next slide. Our corporate officer will bring us up to date on our bylaw updates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So during Q3, the Good Neighbor bylaw was adopted at the end of Q2, beginning of Q3. A new consultant has been retained or was retained to begin work on the subdivision and servicing bylaw. The province passed new legislation allowing local governments to conduct council meetings electronically, and a review began of the district's council procedure bylaw to implement these changes. The Finance Department began a review on the permissive tax exemption bylaw for nonprofit organizations, and Development Services began their review of the district's business license fees. Heading into Q4, the electrical bylaw is currently undergoing an internal review. Again, the subdivision and development servicing bylaw review will begin with a new consultant with an anticipated draft to be done for spring 2022. The parks bylaw will continue to be worked on and drafted, and a review of the traffic bylaw will begin.
Questions? Obviously, this covers a number of different departments in the district. Okay, thank you, Kendra. Back to Brad, short-term vacation rentals.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just an update here of our active project we have right now for short-term vacation rentals, which is a strategic priority of council's. We've been pretty busy with this one in Q3. We've initiated public engagement at the very end of August, following a rollout of the campaign and direction from council to proceed. We initiated a survey in September, and that survey was closed actually October 29th. It just closed for over a month period, and we had a total of 547 respondents to that survey, which is definitely a large amount for a community our size on one topic. So definitely people are engaged about this topic and the potential licensing of short-term rentals within the district. We also sent hard copy pamphlets in the mail to all addresses within the district of Summerland, 3,600 pamphlets total in September, I believe, late September. 2 newspaper ads and 3 social media posts on the project as well as a couple of times in our newsletter to get the word out on our project. Our staff also held a electronic open house on October 26th, which was well attended. I think we had just about 40 people within the community attend that electronic open house over Zoom. And we just started now drafting regulations based on Penticton's approach as a model, but also following some of the feedback we heard from the survey respondents. Our next steps is we actually plan to come before council at our next meeting on November 22nd to present a summary of the public engagement results and a summary of the feedback we heard. Following that, we hope to proceed in short order with proposed bylaw amendments, hopefully by the end of this, by Q4, so maybe still targeting that meeting in December, for bylaw amendments for 3 bylaws, being the zoning bylaw, the business licensing bylaw, as well as the fees and charges bylaw. And then going through that subsequent adoption process going to probably later January, maybe into early February. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Holmes?
It's only me today. Just a question. So the bylaw amendment that you'll be bringing forward, will that still be based on the Penticton model that we approved earlier, or will, with the results of the public engagement, does that change anything before you bring it forward? Yes.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Holmes, thank you for the question. In terms of the feedback that we've received today through the surveys and through the open house as well, it sounds like the model that we put forward is kind of hitting the right balance between views that we've heard. There were some feedback that we received in particular areas of concern, not so much on the model in general, but more so the type of form of where we want short-term rentals to occur. There was some discussion from the survey respondents that perhaps, and it has led to some amendments that we're proposing as part of the draft regulations based on the allowance of where we want short-term rentals. So more so which form of units. More willingness by people to consider them in carriage houses and secondary suites, as well, even in single-family homes, but less so in multifamily housing, just to summarize. And so that might be part of our zoning recommendations. Once we do present on this topic, we're open to any additional feedback from council at our next meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but stratas would be policing themselves?
Through your worship, to Councillor Van Elfen. Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a little bit of both. To answer the question directly, they'll still be required to get licensed under our systems. So, and we would still be responsible to enforce our regulations, whatever we put in place, whether it's the zoning bylaw or and also the business license regulations. So there, we would be responsible to enforce, but definitely stratas, because of their nature of having independence and governance through their own systems, have an ability to govern and enforce as well. So I think it'd be a little bit of both.
And they also have the ability to fine their own members.
Just one question I have. Will the business license, that will be another amendment to the one that we spoke about earlier today, the fees and charges bylaw?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship, for the question. Yeah, yes, you're correct. So although we just passed the new Schedule F, or not passed yet, but third reading, we would propose an amendment to that schedule including a separate fee for short-term rentals in the future.
Great, thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was not clear on the timing of some of these you're proposing on this business licenses and fees and schedules and stuff. Wouldn't there be certain things that we'd want to make sure we get passed in December so they could take effect January 1st, 2022?
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Barkwell, that would be ideal. We're probably not going to be able to have it ready for January 1st, which just because of the nature of going through a public hearing process, which would be required for the zoning bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
So best case scenario, I'd say around February, which is not worst case scenario, because you know, primarily our season here for short-term rentals is starting around March, April. So ideally, we'd like to get whatever is developed in place by that early February range, so that we can bring those existing licensed operations into conformance before the season starts, before tourism.
So when did you say that the business license will be adopted? The recommendation was 125, and that would be for January 1st, right?
Sorry, that was for the current Schedule F that we're proposing today. Yeah. We are proposing to bring that back at our next meeting for adoption.
That'll be adoption next meeting.
That's right, but then there may be a further amendment for short-term rentals at a later point in time.
That's just one item. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one item. Yeah.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. I attended the open house and it was pretty interesting. One thing that came up there was what Councillor Barker was mentioning about previous bookings, and somebody was saying that, you know, they get bookings a year or so in advance, and somebody was wondering whether we could have a kind of a grace period recognizing that thing, because it caused quite a bit of inconvenience for people who've already taken bookings on, and then if the rules change on them, before the season starts, I'm just wondering, is that something that we'd be able to consider? Like kind of grandfather it in somehow.
It's definitely something we could talk with council as we move forward as part of this process. I think it'd be prudent to hear from the public through the public hearing process as well, to hear those concerns directly from operators. We, at the staff side of things, we are preparing for the impact for short-term rentals for next year, 2022. So that means the budgetary impacts. We're expecting council will put something in place. I'm not too sure what that may be, and council can tell us if that's a wrong assumption. But so therefore we are planning in terms of our budgetary process, potential revenue as well as cost impacts to our staff resources and getting this licensing regime up front. So if there's a waiver period, that may influence those projections, but it would be something that council could decide at a later point.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Brad. David, you are up, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So quarter three was an active quarter in regards to the tax-based agricultural land assessment priority. We received a letter from Agricultural Resources Division noting that there are currently no existing funding programs that could help the district. Council did meet with Minister Popham as part of this year's UBCM meetings to discuss the district's concerns. And as part of that meeting, we changed our approach from strictly looking at the costs to service the ALR lands to also looking at the overall developable lands within the entire district. So to summarize that, the district is in a position where 50% of our land base is classified as undevelopable. So when we speak of undevelopable, it's anything from a slope grade over 30%, water course, watersheds, those types of things. So half of the remaining developable lands are actually in the province's agricultural land reserve. So in theory, or in essence, we can only develop 25% of our overall land base without any external encumbrances, which definitely limits our growth potential. So we did bring that forward to the minister, and we did follow up with a letter to Minister Popham summarizing the meeting and our requests. We are awaiting a response back from them. Looking forward, we will continue to advocate with the province as well as our other organizations such as SILGA to see if we can get some more traction on this area. With that, that summarizes that.
Questions, Council? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the review of secondary dwellings being allowed on ALR land, with the ALR's new rules and policies coming into effect in 2022, will help make some type of difference taxation-wise? Because they would be taxed as a non-agricultural use.
Through the mayor, yes, depending on what direction council was to go in on that regard, if there was a decision made where those secondary dwellings were permitted, then BC assessment would classify those. I'm assuming BC assessment would classify those as Class 1 residential homes, which would be taxed at a larger assessed value than would a agricultural property.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Holmes.
I guess what I think would help our case is if there are other municipalities out there kind of in the same boat, you know, who have limited growth potential due to whatever reason, topography or agriculture. And I think we really need to find those other municipalities and work with them. Because I think going it alone isn't really going to get us too far.
I think that perhaps Dave's note that looking at possible advocation through SILGA and UBCM is a good way to connect with other municipalities. Certainly, as vice president, I'm open to that. Councillor Carlson.
Thank you. I know it's a complicated topic. I think it's actually interesting to consider that we're limited in how much of the land we can develop in this community. We always have been, and I think that the community continues to grow, and there's huge potential still. We have, we're doing a downtown plan, and it's going to show us just how much redevelopment and population growth we could anticipate in the coming 5, 10, 50 years. And I think it's this is important, but at the same time, we've got rural roads that go through rural areas and agriculture, and unfortunately, I don't think we're always going to be able to keep them as smooth as a fully serviced city road. And I don't think that we should have that goal in our mind. And so there's a give and a take, and I believe that it's going to be interesting to see what we get from this downtown plan and how much growth potential we have without having to further this conversation too much further.
Okay, don't see any other hands raised. Thank you, Dave. On to the next section, community resiliency. Back to Brad for affordable and supportive housing.
Thank you, Worship. Just a quick update on this one. Strategic priority 3.1, affordable supportive housing opportunities. For Q3 activity, we've been just trying to help and facilitate partnerships locally, primarily. We've had some meetings, just myself personally, with the district, that's someone representing the district, with United Church and the food bank property across from Municipal Hall here, and there's a potential opportunity for a renewed partnership between those two organizations, so that's a positive step for a potential affordable housing project at that location. Next steps, we just continue to support efforts by community organizations to bring forward unique affordable housing projects. As well, we're willing to work with BC Housing on any additional information required for additional grant applications in the future, but happy to take any questions on this one.
Councillor Holmes?
I think what the community would like to know, and certainly I'd like to know, is what the heck happened to the former RCMP site. I don't know how much you can say on that, but there's a lot, people are asking a lot of questions about why that's not going ahead as planned.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Holmes. Yeah, I don't know how much I can say either. We do know that the arrangement that was in place for that, specifically that land location on Jubilee Road across from the arena, has fallen through from the current owner of the land with BC Housing. So I'm not too sure what that leaves the other parties. I am hopeful that they're able to find another location within the community, and we're going to be able to help them do that if they are inquiring.
Okay. Nope. Okay. Thank you, Brad. Back to Graham for Chamber of Commerce and Industry Engagement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just an update, I lost my place here. Oh, there we are. Okay. So just an update on that. Obviously, a number of things happening in terms of continued engagement. I haven't listed them all here, but one of the things that comes to mind is the sort of COVID-friendly light up for Christmas that we're currently planning towards, and a lot of planning activity associated with that. Some good ideas flowing back and forth. There is a need to engage further on the future location or the future resolution of their visitor center and our land lease there. There's discussions occurring in that regard. And in the evening package tonight, Council will see a couple letters from the Chamber that we will be responding to, obviously, offering a meeting to talk about the topics that they've raised in that regard. And we are excited to be working with Kristen, who's the new Business Recovery Advisor on staff for the Chamber. And they have been doing a lot of conversations with various business owners throughout the community and conducting a survey, and they'll be sharing the results with us on the survey that they've done with business owners, and of course not only what the Chamber might focus in, but I'm sure some lessons and some ideas and some themes in terms of how we can work together with the Chamber on making sure we have the right investment climate here in Summerland. So that's the update on the Chamber.
Thank you. Any questions on that? All right. Lori is up next, the cultural plan implementation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as far as the cultural plan implementation, the 2021 banner program, which is led by the Summerland Community Arts Council, has been implemented, and they hosted the reception on July 15th. The cultural plan includes a recommendation to name a street or a public space after George Riga. At the August 23rd council meeting, council named the Arts and Cultural Centre on 9525 Wharton Street as the George Riga Arts and Cultural Centre. On September 14th, district staff met with School District 67 and representation from the Summerland Community Arts Council to discuss the optimization and operational opportunities for the Center Stage Theatre. So we are continuing to advocate to have the theatre open for community use as soon as possible. The management group is looking into updating the 1987 joint use agreement, reviewing other community theatre joint use agreements best practices, developing strategies to promote the theatre and events, conducting an inventory of theatre assets, and looking to replace the theatre technician who has moved away from the community. One of the biggest challenges with this theatre is the classroom is the school drama classroom, or there is a classroom which is located inside the theatre, and it's for the school drama program, and it limits the opportunities for daytime access and storage for groups that are coming into town and looking to do a show, which is not the case in other community or joint use theatres. Also in September, we were notified that our Healthy Community Grant application for enhancing arts and cultural centers outdoor spaces was not successful. These funds were proposed for creating informal and formal gathering spaces for outdoor programs and events and implementing a ramp to improve accessibility to the main floor. Staff will include a capital project budget for the accessible ramp for Council's consideration in the 2022 budget deliberations. As far as next steps, we are assisting the Arts Council on setting up administration protocols for rentals on the second floor for community use. And we are working with the museum on a procurement process for design drawings for the museum expansion project.
Questions for Lori? Thanks, Lori. Brad, South Okanagan Agricultural Food Hub.
Thank you, Worship. Another item that we've been pretty active with in Q3 is the Okanagan Food and Innovation Hub. We were successful, if council remembers, in getting additional grant funding from the Economic Trust of Southern Interior for $37,000, just over $37,000 for additional feasibility activities, which we've now initiated. We also had a meeting with provincial ministers for the UBCM virtual meetings with both Minister Popham and Minister Callan, I believe, from the two ministries that are potentially going to be involved with this project, which I thought was quite positive. So Following that, in September, we issued an RFP and awarded a project to Green Chain Consulting as our consultant to help us with the feasibility activities to get us ready for potential grant funding to higher levels of government, being provincial and federal funding. They've established a great team, Green Chain has, on our behalf, that pulls from different areas of expertise, such as business planning, architecture, and the team that they've established have been successful in establishing food hubs in a lot of other regions of British Columbia, on the island and throughout the lower mainland, as well as the interior. So we feel that we've got a really great consulting team helping us stick handle this project moving forward. With that team, we've recently released an expression of interest process for a land and building partner just last week within the district of Summerland. We're putting the call out to interested landowners as well as people that have existing buildings that might suit the hub to put a proposal in to the District of Summerland, which ends on November 25th. That's kind of a Q4 item, and we're hoping that we can narrow down a list of a few options for council to present to council for a selection of a preferred partner for land and building by our meeting in December 13th. And then following that, in terms of other feasibility activities, we want to revise the business plan to potentially scale down the costs of the first phase of the food hub, along with our building, our land partner, to ensure that it fits that location. And once that business plan is revised, then be ready for potential grant applications that we are expecting to be opened up next spring. We are hoping to move forward with this project next summer, and we've set a timeline to do that. And I'm happy to announce too that just last week we presented to the RDOS for a regional grant and aid, and we were successful in receiving $50,000 from the RDOS towards this project for next year as well. So happy to take any questions on this one.
Questions? Just a reminder for council that ministry staff is continuing to work with our staff on making sure that we are able to put forward the best grant application for the highest chance of success in this next intake. Councillor Barkwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do I remember correctly that the ministry staff said there's like 9 of these food hubs already throughout the province?
Yeah, I'm not too sure the number, but it's up there. Yeah, it could be double digits, actually.
So it sounds like they're successful, and that this would be a logical place to have another one. Let's hope. We've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great, thanks for that update, Brad. Graham, community conversation on racism.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, as indicated here, a couple meetings have occurred with the South Okanagan Immigrant Community Services Collaborative during the reporting period, and as indicated, next steps will keep meeting with them. But in terms of a couple of highlights, one is the new Unboxed initiative that was launched, and so this is a free exploration toolkit with cultural diversity appreciation tools, initiatives, and resources within the communities of Summerland, Osoyoos, and Penticton, and you'll see posters all along the library windows over here about that Unboxed initiative. Also, there's a program, well, sort of an initiative that they have going there with the One World Youth Crew, and it's called Project Vandal. It's about an online reporting system for vandalism in a number of communities, and they get the information and then they need to determine what's the right pathway to pass that along for action for cleanup of vandalism within a community. So we did set up a meeting there and had conversations with appropriate staff from our Public Works Department. We are interested in the information they have, and we're setting up those pathways to keep the information channels open when vandalism does occur, and we can respond to it quickly. That's the update on conversation on racism.
Thank you, Graham. Questions, council? All right. Brad, Eco Village Development.
Thanks, Your Worship. This is a new priority action item that was added since Q2 to our list, priority 3.6, the Eco Village Development. Was added to our strategic priorities in August. In Q3, we released a invitational RFP for qualified consultants to help us prepare a detailed design concept for the Eco Village project. This RFP was awarded to Modus Planning and Design. As part of their work scope, our detailed archaeological, environmental, and geotechnical assessments that were initiated in early October. I do want to mention as well that the partnership, part of our team that's working through our consultant is the PIB Natural Resources Department on the archaeological side. So it's a positive side that we're collaborating with PIB with regards to the archaeological component. We had a site tour with our overall consulting team on October 27th and walked the site with them. And we are just in the final stages of preparing a project webpage that'll be released this week to collect feedback from the community on the land area where the Eco Village project will be sited. And it's a GIS-based crowdsourcing platform that we're going to ask people to upload pictures and areas of interest and views that they appreciate about the site to help us as we move into the design charrette process. That is the next step of this work item. And so other next steps, I mentioned already the design charrette. It's happening November 29th and 30th. Then following from that, we want to finalize the design and present a draft design, probably you're looking at Q1 in 2022. And then proceed with any bylaw amendments we may require for the zoning side, restricted covenants as well, that we are requiring of our consultant to provide us architectural guidelines. And they do have an architect on their team in their provision of deliverables to ensure that we're going to require that whoever does develop this property does so following our prescribed design criteria. I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Holmes.
Sorry, I might have missed it, but so who will be participating in the design concept? Will be community stakeholders?
Yeah, good question through Your Worship to Councillor Holmes. Due to restrictions on numbers, similar to like what we did with the downtown plan, we are doing an invitation-only event of key stakeholders that we're identifying that need to be part of the design concept process. Some of the stakeholders we've already engaged with, being the recreational trail user groups, would be one. Penticton Indian Band, we're going to reach out to them directly, as well as adjacent landowners, being others that we'd like to have them in the room. Some key staff from our side, and yeah, but other than that, any other recommendations from council for who should be there, we're open to hearing from you on that.
Thank you.
Graham?
Just checking with Brad here, also the college, I believe, right, did you want to talk about that too? Because it goes back to the Penticton Indian Band recommendation.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Thanks for reminding me of that. So yeah, another recommendation from Penticton Indian Band Council, when we were doing the site tour with council of the site, was to reach out to Okanagan College. I think it's called the Sustainable Construction Institute, or I can't remember the exact name, but locally here, and there might be some opportunity for them to be involved or get some youth that are part of that program to participate in this event as well and lend their expertise. So that'd be another invite that we'd be hoping to invite to this.
Okay, thank you. I just have one question. W- When, are you expecting that the assessments will be completed?
The preliminary estimate or assessments are supposed to be completed before the design charrette workshop. So I would actually think within the next couple weeks. The idea being is that we want to have that baseline knowledge before we start designing.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay. On to 25, solar and storage projects. So the first part of section 4, that's for Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for the solar and storage project, Q3 was sort of the summit of a lot of work to do with the writing of the RFP and the specification. So the RFP was issued in Q3. We started bid evaluations by the end of Q3. We had received some presentations from bidders, et cetera. So we were working away on that. And we also had an environmental permit issued from Development Services. So for next steps, we'll be coming to council with bid results, and I believe that's on the 22nd of this month at the next council meeting, and talking about next steps there, and be getting into hopefully an award and detailed design.
Okay, any questions on this one? Thank you. Joe, Climate Action Plan implementation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In Q3, we initiated the BC Energy Step Code implementation process. That was in late August. That was in addition to the building bylaw review. There was some reporting done on the electrical vehicle charging stations early on in the quarter. And good news, we've hired a new sustainability and alternate energy coordinator. Odessa Cohen starts next Monday, I believe. And that'll be part of the next steps, are getting her up to speed with our community energy and emissions reduction plan and the corporate energy and emissions management plan 5-year implementation, and as well completing a unit by unit assessment to determine the 5-year capital plan to green our fleet that we have within the district.
Questions, council? Okay. Jeremy, community energy strategy.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. Had the mic left on there. So the energy strategy, we brought the report to council in Q3 and had some discussion at a council meeting. And out of that meeting, there was some discussion around communicating the peak shaving concept to the community. So we put that in a newsletter. I can't show any numbers on whether or not that actually was helpful or not, or actually shaved, or how much peak it would have shaved. But we do have a lot of people in Summerland that do read the newsletter. So hopefully it got out there to reduce your energy usage during those peak times, which is sort of dinner time and early morning. And as per council's direction of that meeting, we are still working on the modern metering report. And that's currently in draft.
Councillor Barkwell.
By modern metering, easy for you to say, you mean time of day charges, like variable charges for time of day?
Yeah, through the mayor, that's correct. That's part of that report.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's done so many other places. And
anyone else? Okay, on to the next section, section 5, active lifestyles. Lori, oh, Lori gets this whole section. Of course she does. Community Recreation and Health Center.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The consulting teams have been working on providing council updates throughout this entire term for the feasibility studies through committee of the whole meetings. And they have been engaging with the steering committee and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for input. The Rec Center consultants have completed stakeholder engagement and have been narrowing down site fit options on the Kelly Avenue and Jubilee Road sites. Engagement included the IOOF Hall, Timber Mart, Youth Center, Little Chicks Daycare, and the school district. The health center consultants have been searching and assessing site locations for the downtown core and have expanded slightly out to try to find a suitable site and have completed their functional program. Next steps in these projects, the rec center consultants are completing costing analysis for 2 shortlisted options. They will be implementing public engagement from November 15th to the 29th, and this includes display boards at the lobby of the Aquatic Center, Arena, and District Hall. A hard copy and online survey will be available through that time period. An in-person open house is scheduled for November 16th with project presentations, and that'll be held at the Arena banquet room. And there's 2 sessions at 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. They will be back to council on December 13th to present the results of the engagement. And they're aiming to provide a draft final report by December 17th, which will include recommendations and a business case. And they're aiming to present the final report to council in January. The health center consultants are targeting to provide analysis of the 5 shortlisted properties to council on November 22nd. That will be followed by development of concepts of those 2 shortlisted options through to the end of January. They would present those options to the public in February, and they are now targeting the completion of their final report and business case in March or April.
So different from what our slide shows, correct?
Yes, that's been updated just this week. Updated to me, sorry, not the slide.
Okay, okay, sorry, thank you. That's good to know. Questions, council? All right, so on to your next one, Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Q3 activity included the installation of outdoor fitness equipment in Memorial Park in late June, completion of the Peach Orchard pickleball courts in August, installation of the temporary fenced off-leash dog park at Dale Meadows Sports Complex. While we tried to purchase fencing for this project, due to supply chain issues, fencing is not currently available. So we are doing month-to-month rentals, and we'll continue to search for supply to be able to purchase the modular fencing. We've hired a gate contractor to open the gate from dawn to dusk at Dale Meadows to allow for access for people with mobility issues to have close access to the entrance. We are collecting feedback from users and will report back to council in January with an update during the Q4 report. And I'd just like to note that we haven't put any restrictions on the size or the weight of dogs in this park. We are keeping it open for all dogs. And dog owners are monitoring their comfort level based on what dogs are at the park when they arrive. We've had a few questions on whether or not we would be putting up signage for small dogs only. At this point, we are suggesting that we keep it open for everyone and assess in January. As far as next steps, we are discussing the 145 master plan recommendations to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee and looking for 2022 projects to bring forward for council consideration during the budget process. We are currently completing tennis court design layout and costing for the Lakeshore Racket Center. And we're also looking at the cost for consideration for comparison, looking at the Powell Beach tennis court replacement as well to look at what those different costs might be. And that will be coming forward to council as part of the 2022 budget process. And we are initiating the waterfront concept plan. The RFP has been issued and a consulting team has been hired. As noted at the last report, Horse Beach is now included in the scope of work for the waterfront concept plan. The project will take place starting next week and through to April. And just a reminder that we do have a $10,000 grant to assist with funding for this project.
Councillor Holmes?
You have questions on a couple of the items here, if I may. First, the off-leash dog park. Is there, so it's a temporary facility right now. We're going to monitor to see how it works, and then then we make a decision to make it a permanent one or not. Is that the idea?
Thank you, through Madam Mayor, to Councillor Holmes. Yeah, the direction from council was to do it as a pilot project to start and to reassess after a full year. So we'll provide updates throughout the year so you can see what sort of feedback we're getting. But the intention was a pilot project, temporary till September of next year, and then to come back and decide what we might want to do for the future.
Okay. And just to follow up, so what's the mechanism for people to provide feedback?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Holmes, we have posted an email address at the park, and we're encouraging people to write their feedback to us, and we're collecting that through that forum.
Okay, thanks. And another question, if I may, on another item?
Okay, anybody else have questions on this? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Holmes.
Just for the waterfront concept plan, so is the scope of that plan set in stone if we wanted to, depending on the results of our discussion tonight and subsequent public hearing and everything like that, if we wanted to extend the boundaries to include the Racket Center land, would that be a possibility?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Holmes, the scope is set based on the budget right now. If we were to change the scope, then it may impact the budget and need an amendment to the existing contract.
So right now it's Rotary Beach to Peach Orchard, the
Correct.
box basically.
With the addition of Horse Beach added into the scope of work.
Sorry.
Horse Beach is also
Horse Beach. All right. Yeah.
included.
All right. Arena assessment.
Q3 work completed to date includes researching other communities' arena condition assessments and development of the scope of work for the project. The RFP was issued on November 2nd, and it's expected to be implemented over the next 4 to 6 months. And just a reminder that we do have a grant of $10,000 to provide funding support for this project as well.
Okay, I guess no questions on that one. So Memorial Park Playground.
The scope of work completed for Q3 was an RFP was drafted with a design build format. The RFP was issued on October 27th and it closes on November 16th. There was an optional site meeting for playground companies on November 3rd, which I'm happy to say there were several companies out looking at the project and asking questions. We're targeting to have the contract awarded by November 29th and starting the community engagement piece with council and the service clubs immediately. We do understand there are challenges with ordering equipment and getting it in and getting it installed. So we're trying to move this as quickly as possible. So we'll be coming back to council once we have a preferred proponent confirmed. By December 13th or maybe on December 13th for your input into the design piece before the equipment is ordered. And we'll also be engaging the service clubs that are part of this project and contributing funds. And so as soon as that piece is done, we hope to get everything ordered before the end of the year so that we can look at a proposed installation data by June 24th of 2022.
Just in time for school to get out. It's great. Councillor Trainer.
Can you remind me of the total budget for that project again?
We have $250,000 approved. We may have some additional funds through the service clubs on top of that, but that's all inclusive. So that's the equipment, that's removal of existing, that's the borders, the surfacing. So everything is all inclusive in that.
Okay, and then, sorry, you said that we don't have final numbers for donations though from?
We don't, no.
Okay.
We do have $10,000 committed through the Kinsman Club. We do also have kind of agreement in principle through the credit union. We'll be contributing some funds, but the final number hasn't been issued yet. The Rotary Club is also interested in participating, but they weren't able to give us numbers yet. The Fire Department Association is also wanting to help contribute as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Other questions? Did you have a comment? Yes, Graham.
And unless I missed it, also some offers of volunteer labor.
Correct.
From same organizations, so which we'll figure out how to properly coordinate.
Good, that's a great community project. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay, now on to our final strategic priority, downtown vibrancy. And these are all three for Brad. Beginning with downtown neighborhood plan.
Thank you, Your Worship. So with regards to our downtown neighborhood action plan, for Q3 activity, we've awarded the project to Urban Systems in August of 2021, and they've hit the ground running with completing some activities on our behalf for the creation of a new downtown neighborhood action plan. They starting with a background document review of all of our relevant planning documents that are pertaining to the downtown area that we hosted with the Downtown Neighborhood Task Force. In September, a new visiting session with our consultants leading us, asking questions about what we want our downtown to be, moving to the future, what we consider our downtown right now. We created a staff steering committee to meet with our consultant on a reoccurring basis throughout the project as part of their proposal, to touch base to ensure that what we are developing is going to be in conformance with our asset management plan, our 10-year capital plans that are already developed. And so that committee has been meeting as well. We also held a design shred workshop as well as a downtown walking tour event on October 13th. And I think it was a pretty successful day. Got a lot of good feedback from that day. And right now our consultants are using that feedback to develop some concepts for our attention for specifically with Memorial Park. And that's some of the next items, right? Moving onto the slide here, we've got actually an engineering review of the downtown infrastructure right now as an immediate next step. A meeting pretty soon to talk about that. Our consultant right now is completing a land use inventory and policy recommendations. So that's actually coming from Councillor Carlson's comments about growth, where we want growth to occur within the downtown core and to what form of growth. That's some of the questions that we've posed to our consultant, and to be providing us some recommendations back for plan amendments. Next steps as well includes those Memorial Park concepts to be presented to the next meeting of the task force in late November. And we're also looking at potential council presentation on those concepts as well in Q4. And then finally, once council's seen them, proceed to public engagement of those concepts. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Holmes.
Not a question, just a comment on the Memorial Park charrette and the downtown walking tour we had. That was an amazing day, and I really appreciate the staff that came out to support that. On the walking tour, the work staff that you had, Martin, explaining to the task force members all the kind of the pressure points for traffic. He knew exactly. You had Jeremy identifying every single tree along Main Street and explaining the health of that tree, and this one's about to die, this one's perfectly fine, and explaining to us why. So that kind of detail was just incredible. So really appreciate it. It was a great day.
Okay. Next item is the George Riga Arts and Culture Center renovation.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So we were quite busy in Q3 with this one as well, finalizing the project over the last quarter. We received temporary occupancy for the building in August 2021, following the substantial renovation we completed to the building. Following that temporary occupancy being given, the Arts Council was permitted to move in and started doing so in early September. Staff made the call to make a couple of additional changes to the scope to replace the exterior gutters because it was a safety hazard with the current state of the gutters. So that was done in September. And then we also initiated the new signage. I think it was early October when we initiated the new signs for George Riga. Next steps for the project is pretty much done. There are a couple of small architectural deficiencies that have been provided by Cal Mickeljohn, and so we're just finalizing those before we get final sign off from our building department on final occupancy. So, but the project is pretty much done, so we've been successful in terms of landing this one.
Great. I don't see any questions on that one. So the Main Street outdoor patio design guidelines, please.
Thanks. This is the last one, and thanks for your patience. This is just a minor inclusion, I would say, to our overall downtown neighborhood action plan. It is a strategic priority of councils, but it's been kind of tagged on to the downtown plan as a deliverable of our consultant to potentially provide us some design guidelines for outdoor patios. If council remembers, last spring we did approve the rapid approval process for temporary sidewalk patios in response to the COVID restrictions in April of last spring. Those have been since removed for the winter season. We probably can expect some requests for those to come back in the spring. We most likely won't have those guidelines done by that point, but we'll have to make a decision on which what we're going to allow for next spring, probably at a later point.
I have a question about the name of this priority. Is it just for the Main Street, or is it for the streets, off of the Main Street in the downtown core? For the patios?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I think primarily it's all of the downtown core. It's not just Main Street. I believe the impetus for the project came from True Grain in their original request, so that was on Main Street. But definitely we're from other communities and what we've seen, especially with COVID, there's a real growth in this type of demand for use of the road right away for patios and for not just patios, but also like sidewalk sales and other business usages of the sidewalk and parking lots. So, and it's something I think we want to encourage safely. Definitely the side streets like Henry and Kelly and Victoria should be supported as well.
Thank you. Any questions on this, Council? All right. So we're doing pretty good for time. Thank you, Brad, and everyone else that's already presented. I'll just say on behalf of council, we really appreciate having these quarterly updates. It's really a great thing to be having. Last but not least is our new fire chief, Chief Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councilors. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councilors. Nothing like being thrown into the fire on my first day. To give you a quarterly 3 update from the fire department, we'll start off with the incidents. You can see July, oh, is it on a total there? Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, okay. July, 41 incidents, August, 31 incidents, and September, 30 incidents. We are currently, to date, 63 incidents over from last year, which adds up to about 31% call volume increase. And that's basically it for incidents. Next slide, we have training. Unfortunately, training numbers are being impacted by COVID. Limited training took place for the first half of the year. We're back doing a little more training now. You can see in July 36, August 28, and September 21 with a total of 169. We're generally well into the 200s. So that's it for training. Under permits, we don't allow open burning in July, August, and September. So we started up in October 15th, and numbers are basically where they are from last year and previous years. That's it for permits. Mine's going to be nice and quick for everybody. The quarterly 3 update for inspections. Property inspections year to date have been impacted again by COVID. Limited number of training events took place in the first half of the year, and we started inspections now again with the start of mostly July, August and September. You can see if you look down at the it kind of skews the numbers a little bit. Hydrant inspections, 534. That's really good because this year we were able to get out and do hydrants because we weren't doing as many face-to-face inspections. So we got all our fire hydrants done this year. Generally, that number is up over 700 inspections a year to date. So that's it for inspections. Our public education, again, impacted by COVID. We didn't get out much in July or August. As you can see, September we did a few, starting with the schools, we did some outside events with our kindergarten classes. A typical year is, we've only done 11, but a typical year is around 50. And that's all I have.
That's a lot. That's a lot of numbers. Thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I remember years ago now, there was a 10-year plan for the fire department, and I think that has since expired, but I don't remember seeing a new 10-year plan. Do we have one for, and replacement of capital and such?
Thanks, Councillor, through the mayor. No, we don't currently have one at the moment. So something we can work on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Van Alphen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question through to our new chief. On volunteers, are we currently taking new volunteers because of COVID? Is that an issue? People that want to volunteer and get trained up to be volunteers, like something that's going to happen in the near future? And do you have a waiting list?
Thanks, Councillor, through the mayor. Right now, we haven't brought anybody on. We have 6 members currently going through, and I'll bring that up in tomorrow's budget through our, we call it our 1001 program through the firefighter program. We've kind of, because of COVID, we had stopped practice last year and for the first half of this year. So we were unable to keep the training going with them. So since June or July, we've started our training again. So we're stuck in between getting these 6 members finished versus bringing some more on. But we'll never turn anybody down. We'll always tell you, if someone comes to our door, we'll tell them to fill out an application and bring it back, and we'll try to get them hired as well, or as a paid on call as fast as we can if we can do it.
Thank you.
Councillor Holmes?
Thank you. So in the public education portion, there's under Fire Smart, there's an asterisk. I'm just wondering what that represents. And then in general, where are we at with Fire Smart?
So again, tomorrow I'll bring more of that up. We have a budget for this year, for next year, a grant funded. I think it's no, I can't go with a number because I can't remember. But we are working with somebody to help us out build a program, and also we're doing some fire smarting at the arena and putting it on our webpage. I'm not sure, you know what, Glenn did this up, so I'm not sure what the asterisk is.
We'll blame it on him.
Yeah.
We'll say it means it's important.
Yeah, I didn't notice it, but it's got to be important. Yeah.
I just have one quick question. The false alarm, or sorry, the fire alarms, I think it was 50 or something. Does that include false alarms?
Yes, that's every
Okay.
time we get a residential or commercial building fire alarm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Graham.
Just on the Fire Smart, for council's awareness, we are working with the consultant to do what's called the prescription for next year's activities on the Fire Smart. Unfortunately, the grant money that was available has slipped because of timelines. So the work will still take place, but we won't have the same level of assistance as we had at least for the upcoming year. But the prescription nonetheless is being done because the work has to be done, and that is underway.
Yeah, I do believe there's like an RFP that's out for tender right now, and I think it closes November 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just so council knows, we are going to have a quick break before we go into closed, but we need some final comments from our CAO first. Thank you, Rob.
Yes, thank you very much. And so you'll notice we've added fire to the updates. Now we also will be adding police. Sergeant Preston could not be here today, but so we'll have the police update, I think, for the November 22nd meeting. But in future updates, we're going to try and incorporate fire and police into the quarterly updates as well. And then over time and where it makes sense, try to build in the operational rhythm, the financial updates as well into the quarterly. So just try and build the quarterly up to one large sort of dashboard that council can view on that quarterly basis. And thank you for council's time. We appreciate it.
Councillor Holmes. Thank you, Graham.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too bothered if fire and police were on a different day, just because it's pretty long haul doing this all in one go, but it's whatever works for yourselves.
Okay, it is almost 3:45. Let's take a 10-minute, no, we still have item 8.1, sorry. Yes, we do. Thank you. Break just after this. It's adoption, so it should be quick, of the Driveway Access Amendment Bylaw 2021-034. And to you, Kendra.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the Driveway Access Amendment Bylaw number 2021-034 received first, second, and third reading at the October 25th regular meeting of Council. It is now before Council for adoption.
Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, that the Summerland Driveway Access Amendment Bylaw number 2021-034 be adopted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Patton. All in favor? And none opposed. Thank you. Thank you, Kendra. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we have another public and media comment opportunity. No. Okay. So 3:45, let's take a 10-minute break. Is 5 minutes long enough? 5-minute break, and then we'll resume, and thank you. And then we'll be back for the go into closed.